everybody, Cutthroat Cure here from the Advanced Maneuvers team, bringing to you another Cutting Corners tutorial. Today I'm going to be going over something that I feel is super important, especially when you're getting into the hobby, and a lot of people may not have all the information they need for this, so I figured that I would go over it and not only explain to you the methods in which to do it, but actually show you how it's done. So you're going to get to take a small trip into my studio bathroom where I do all of the cleaning of my brushes. So stay tuned, and I'm going to tell you the things you need, what you need to know, things to look out for, and a few tips and tricks that I've learned along the way. Welcome to the troll bathroom, and this is where we're going to be doing the tutorial on cleaning your brushes properly. This is one of those skills that I cannot even begin to tell you how important it is. You don't have to clean your brushes after every single use, but definitely making sure that a quick scrub after a really long night of painting, or doing some pigment work or other things like that, can not only save you a lot of time when it comes to having to make sure that you use your brushes properly, but it can also save you a lot of money, as it's going to take some of those brushes, whether they be real or synthetic, and make them last longer. So I'm going to show you the proper way to clean them and do a different the 3 different styles. So basically cleaning a really heavily dirty brush like this pigment brush I have right here, as well as cleaning more of a very precise brush like my Winsor & Newton Series 7 Zero I have here, which I use for a lot of my line work. So I'm just going to set these right here. So one of the most important things that you can have to use is, and this is my own personal choice for using this, is I have Masters brush cleaner and preserver. And let me tell you this right now, this stuff, when you first go to the hobby store and you look at it, it seems a little bit pricey. I think it's $16 for a pretty large tub this size. And you might be saying, man, $16, like I'm going to, that's a little bit much. But I can tell you now that I've been probably painting for about 8 years, and this is the first jar I ever bought, and I still, as you can see, have a ton of material left. So I don't even know how much longer this is going to last me, but I can tell you that spending that extra money and getting brush cleaner that is of quality, such as Masters brush cleaner, can be very beneficial for you in your hobby career. They also have liquid brush cleaners that can be used. I personally haven't used them, but I do know that professional painters like Jessica Rich swears by them. So they've got to have some purpose. You're going to want a paper towel so that you can clean off some of the excess water when you're cleaning your brushes. It's always good just to have a paper towel. So I have that there. Another tool that's optional, but I've definitely found to be very useful, is I got this from Michaels. It was $6, and it's just aluminum, and all it is a little basin that has this holder here that brushes can go onto. And the main purpose for this is that when you're drying your brushes, you should always have them bristles down, so that the water and other material don't pool in the top area, in the area where the bristles attach to the actual brush. If your brushes start drying in that area, it can actually cause your bristles to weaken, and therefore your brush won't last as long. So the best 2 manners to do it is, of course, lay your brush on its side when it dries, or if you have something such as this or any other tool, I've seen people use blue tack that's attached to just a piece of wood or something, and they just stick their brush into it. Anything works. This was just super cost effective and works very well, and I use it whenever I'm done painting. I just throw my brushes in here upside down so that any of the excess water from maybe cleaning out my brush can drain out. And also I put all of my paint brush caps covers in here because it just gives them a place. So let's get to the to the bread and butter of this tutorial. So, of course, you're going to want to use hot water. So I apologize if the noise is a little bit much, but I'm going to try and keep it down a little bit so that usually I would have this thing going at full tick, at full blast, so that I can get the most out. But for the efforts of this video, I'm going to use it in a conservative manner to make sure that I don't drown out my audio. So the first brush I'm going to work on is my Vienna Artist Loft brush from Michaels. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that your water gets warm, because warm water is the best to loosen up the bristles. So take it up to full tilt and cool it down, and there we go. So now I've got my water nice and hot. So what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to run it under the water here. Just get it nice and wet. Then I'm going to open up my Masters brush cleaner. I'm just going to toss the cap on the floor. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually take my brush and put it into the, I'm actually going to put it in here, and I'm just going in one direction, actually brush the soap cleaner. Now I might want to get a little bit more water just so that it lathers up. But you kind of want to make sure that you brush in one direction, because this actually keeps your bristles from going all wonky. And just by, as you can see, you're just kind of wanting to get your bristles nice and like with a lathered effect. And you can see as I pull these through, like material comes out. And that's just because that's actually the soap working into the bristles. And a lot of times I will work my fingers over the bristles like this just to make sure it gets in there. Another technique that I do often is I will take my brush, and after moving it through the soap, I will spin it on my palm here just to make sure that not only am I getting all of the material into the bristles, but I'm also shaping my brush by pulling it downwards and spinning it in whichever fashion I feel is appropriate to put a more precise tip on it. Now, this is not one of my best brushes. This is just a workhorse, but I still want it to keep a pretty good area so that when I'm brushing, I have that precision. And the cool part is after you get the soap into your brush and you have it shaped like that, you can actually leave the excess soap into it at the end. So basically, clean it out. So here we go. I'm going to clean out the excess. And then I'm actually going to go back to this and do it a second time just to make sure. So brushing in one direction. I'm not going back and forth. And then I've got plenty in here. And then I'm just going to, once again, take my palm, push the brush against it, and spin in whichever direction feels more natural and just kind of shape my tip. And then once that is done, I will put my brush in my holder here and let it dry just like that. Now what that's going to do for me is that's going to allow any of the water that might be stuck in my brush to dry down, so basically it can come out. But it's also, since I left this excess soap in there, it's actually going to cause my bristles to harden up and get very stiff. Now, you might wonder why this is a good thing. This is a good thing because what it's going to do is it's actually going to train your brush to keep the bristles together and to actually work and keep a finer tip. So, your bristles aren't going to, get all jagged or get knocked off. So, it's very simply that, your brush can sit there very strong, and then when you go to paint the next time, you just dip it in your water, run it across your paper towel to shape one more time, and you're ready to go. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to do a more precise brush. I'm going to focus on my Winsor & Newton Series 7. This is the number 0. And this brush I've used a little bit recently. It's not super dirty because I cleaned it not that long ago, but in the efforts of this video, I'm going to clean it now just to make sure that you understand. So once again, using that hot water, I'm just going to take it and do exactly the same thing I did with the other one, which is run it in one direction and lather up my brush. Now, a little bit piece of advice is that when you are cleaning your brushes, if you're cleaning a whole bunch of them, you definitely want to start with your bigger brushes first, or your more meaty brushes, because what that's going to allow you to do is it's going to allow your soap to already have a nice layer of the lather worked up. So when you're working with your finer tip brushes, you're not having to work so hard to get the soap into the bristles. So once again, I'm going to grab my palm here, and I'm going to take my brush, and I'm just going to spin in a downwards fashion, pulling my brush down while I spin to shape it into a tip that I like. And that works for me. As you can see, it stays pretty straight. This is a non-synthetic brush, so you know, you don't really want curvature at all, and that allows me to keep fine lines. I've had this brush probably for about a year and a half now. I don't do as much painting as maybe say a commission or like a master painter, but I do a decent amount, and this is probably one of my favorite brushes. So this has gotten a lot of use, and just taking proper care of it, such as cleaning my brushes, as I'm showing you in this video, have allowed me to keep it around a lot longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean out the bit that I just put in there and just kind of brush it out. Now, I'm using my hand a little bit more than I'm using my paper towel, which is fine, which I'm just using that more because it's working as a better reference point. But I've cleaned out a bit. I'm going to get my soap a second time because, as I said on the previous brush, I want to make sure that I leave a little bit of the soap in it to allow it to shape my brush and keep my brush nice and stiff. And I just want to make sure that I shape it to the right area that I want it to, which is fine. So just get a little bit like that, just to make sure that my brush is doing well. As you can see there, it's doing fine. So once again, I'm going to take this brush and I'm going to put it upside down in my brush holder, and I'm just going to let it dry. And once those are dry, I will put them back into my paintbrush holder that's at my desk. But for now, that's a good place to let them dry. Now we're going to go with a brush that's pretty dirty, as I've just used it for the past few pigment videos that I've recently done. So this thing probably has a bunch of extra pigment caked into it. So this will be a good brush to show you how the soap can help it, as the other two were more generic and they didn't show a lot of the actual work. So we're gonna get our water nice and hot. I'm actually gonna brush it out in the sink because I know that there's a decent amount of pigment in here. And right off the bat, I'm gonna grab my paper towel to show you, but taking this brush right here, you can already see right there that there's material in the bristles. You can see just how darker it is. And that's just from the water. So I'm gonna put this paper towel down. I'm gonna run it under the water again. And then I'm going to put it into my soap here. So here we go. So once again, with this one, I'm going in the same direction. And as you can already see right here, the pigments that I had in here from before, I ran it across that paper towel a few times, and we had material come off it, but not as much. Now already, just by putting it in the soap, you can already see that stain right there where it's actually pulling the pigments out of the brush. And so I'll keep running it in here, and the more that I do it, you can see it's only getting thicker. So once again, I'm gonna grab my paper towel here, and I'm gonna show you just how much work it's gotten done already. And look at all that. All of that right there was still in my brush. So this is from just regular water and just brush stroke in the water, and this is from the actual water and the soap. And already you can see a big difference in how much material it's pulling out of the brush. So I'm gonna do this a little bit more because I need this brush to be cleaner. So once again, going through here and pulling the pigments out, and I'm actually gonna get it even wetter just because I wanna make sure that I'm getting it nice and lathered. And you can already see these chunks right here where the actual pigment is mixing in with the soap, and it's lathering up and creating one big piece. So using my hand here, I'm just pulling it out, and you can see all this hard soap, all the soap where it lathered up, and it's dark because it's pulling pigments from the inside of the brush. And you wouldn't know all that stuff is in there, but it's soaking into your bristles and the area that's holding your bristles to the brush, and it's weakening it. So already you can see just right here where I just did it, it's already better. And that's just from the soap. Now, of course, I'll do this a few more times. And because it's dirtier, it's going to take a little bit more of the cleaning to make sure that it is in, pristine shape for the type of brush it is. But, already you can see just by using this brush soap and the hot water, that's already cleaning out so much extra stuff out of my brush that I would have left in there had I just used water and the paper towel. So right, and another thing this is doing is it's conditioning my brush. So much like hair, like you have on your head, this is adding nutrients to it so that it stays smoother and that paint can flow off it. Now, as with my other brushes, I would put this into a nice tip by leaving a little bit of paint, extra soap into it, except for the fact that this thing is past the point of no return when it comes to a point. And as this is one of my shit brushes, I don't mind so much that it keeps this like gritty look. So what I can do is, since I got all of the pigment out and I can feel here that the brush is already smoother, I'm just going to put this into my paint rack and let it dry upside down just like the rest, because while I don't care about a point, I do care about keeping the water and other materials out of the area holding the bristles to the brush, because I do want to use it a few more times when doing pigments and other stuff. So as you can see, that's pretty much the basics of cleaning your paintbrushes. This is something that any person who is interested in the hobby should definitely know and should make themselves very familiar with. I'm going to clean the rest of these brushes off camera and in my own personal time, since I don't want to run this along. But as you can see, I've got 3 very clean brushes sitting in my paint holder, all upside down between my workhorse, my precision brush, and a shit brush. So once again, guys, hopefully this taught you an interesting fact or trick. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to comment below, and I will do my best to answer you as soon as I can. Hopefully I can provide some more content to you guys soon. Also, let me know if there's any other tips or tricks that I can show you how to do, and hopefully this taught you something that'll help you get some real longevity out of your brushes. If you enjoyed this Advanced Maneuvers hobby content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And let us know what future tips and tricks and hobby-related materials you would like to see. Don't forget, it just takes one brush stroke to keep getting better.